I'm your father, Luke. May 4th, Star Wars Day. Anyway, it's me, Curtis G, having fun in the Star Wars theme. May 4th is also the day that we graduated from. I have my Master Gardener certificate. What a day it was. We celebrated, and I'm going to kick the show off sharing with you some of our graduation activities, and I'll do the voiceover. We're going to end the show with the soil sommelier. Stephen Andrews is an incredible man. He came to our class a few weeks ago and talked to us about soil. And you'll see the video. I hope you enjoyed today's show. The Master Gardener program in Marin is fabulous. I think I told you all I took this course to prove that they couldn't teach me anything about gardening. Was I wrong? Wow. So if you're interested, I will share information about that in coming shows. Yeah, peace, spread love. I got my certificate now. I am a master gardener. I got some seeds, some local seeds to plant in the garden. And yeah, it's a blast. Great friends. I'm going to share pictures of the whole class. We lost 2 or 3 people because of illnesses and things. But however, I should say, I don't like to say that word, but it was just a great graduation day. Peace, spread love. Talk to you soon.
Some of you may be not sure, and it is perfectly fine to dabble in a lot of projects and to try out for size what speaks to your heart, which is what this is, projects that make your heart sing. So if you're lucky enough to have that, you will be very happy with it. And the next thing is, we saw the French.
We're all still learning. So one of the things I'm looking forward to over the next year is learning from you guys. I know that a lot of...
So Stephen just kind of pumped us up to get ready to be master gardeners, and then Carol kind of walked us through the past 18 weeks, and we loved it. However, if you haven't taken the course, you may not be as thrilled as we were. So yeah, join us master gardeners. And of course, we had to give Carol and Melissa some gifts for the great work they did, because it was all volunteer, y'all.
So then, when I decided to write a class song, I thought, what kind of music is something that everybody's going to be familiar with? There's so much variety out there, but I know we have some Giants fans here, and I know that everybody is familiar with Take Me Out to the Ball Game. So I'm not a singer. I'm going to hold the mic a little ways away, but everybody can join in on this one. Our ode to our class. This is everything that you need to know distilled into 2 verses.
All right.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
Take me out to the garden. Take me out to the yard. Buy me some natives and daffodils.
Blooming roses, they give me a thrill. I want roots that are healthy, so they can withstand the freeze. And it's compost all day for the MMG.
Come on, pick it up.
Out to the garden house.
Take me out to the guild. Buy me some plum trees and walnuts. Reach your saplings before the first cut. I want boots in the soil to make a home for the bees. And it's compost all day for the MMG.
Yeah! Now take a look at this. Soil is a living, dynamic ecosystem. The gentleman you're going to meet in a minute, Stephen Andrews, is just
Curtis behind the camera, and in front of me is the soil sommelier.
And I just can't wait to share him with you all. Peace.
Well, here we are
Enjoy
at Curtis's raised bed, and we're going to do an introduction to vermicomposting. Whoa. What's that word again? Vermicomposting. Verma, worms. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're going to have worms that are going to do the breakdown of the organic matter to make us some beautiful compost.
that you'll be able to use in the garden.
I love
And
it.
so we've got a little demonstration kit here,
right.
one that I've used before that I brought over. To start off with, we have a dark plastic container. This one is a 10-gallon container. Depending on how many people you have in the household, you can get a larger one.
Well,
This is a good starter for a couple of people in the house and just your daily kitchen scraps.
So whatever I make in the morning for breakfast, what's left over, only green things though, right? They are
Right, so we would put in things like lettuce, carrot tops. You could put in apples, apple peels, strawberries, anything that basically comes out of the refrigerator that was green, you
Love
could
it.
use. We don't want to have any cheese. We don't want to have any meat. We don't want to have any seafood. So all plant-based material is what we really want to have in there.
So I think your wife said they're vegans, right? The worms are vegan.
The worms are, well, I don't know if we call them vegans. We call them soylents maybe, or
Ooh,
something
I
like
like
that. They're
that. I
making
like
soil.
Okay.
But the worms themselves, they're commonly called red wigglers, or manure worms is another name for them. And what they do, along with the bacteria that are naturally on the food material and stuff, they will start to work and break that down. And the worms will ingest this. They have bacteria in their gut that actually do the decomposition work. And then when they poop, they put out these little things called castings. And those are nutrient rich and what are going to make your vegetables sing.
Oh,
So
baby.
we want to do
All
a lot of that.
So now this little container you have, that's
Yes.
just a nice little like Rubbermaid, Tuppermaid, somebody makes a
Exactly.
great container?
Something Target, Ace
Okay.
Hardware. This
Right.
is a 10-gallon. You want it to be dark colored so that sunlight doesn't penetrate through it. And you want it to make sure that you have a lid with it.
Okay.
Now,
You have two little silver things at the top. Is that just vents or?
Yes, so these are soffit vents that you can get at your Ace Hardware store, Home Depot, anything like that. And then you'll see on this side, there's also a couple over here.
Ah,
Okay.
I love it. Okay.
So this is to allow for plenty of air circulation because our worms are air-breathing organisms.
Gotcha.
So we want to make sure they get plenty of fresh air.
Perfect.
And then
Now-
we want that lid, make sure that it'll lock on tight. If you happen to have critters around that you might be concerned about, you might want to put a bungee cord over the top of it. And that will keep them from being able to get inside and get at your worms. Because
Now-
worms are tasty to
Yep.
critters like raccoons and all that stuff.
Because we do have a trio of raccoons that visit us quite often. Lisa will show you the video later today.
Okay.
Before we dig holes, can we take a closer look at the actual container?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to come inside so people can see what we're talking about. That's the lid that you showed, the outside of the lid, right?
And these are soffit vents. These are about 2 inch. And then the
Okay.
ones on the side are 1.5 inches. And you can see that there's also a little screen on the inside.
Uh-huh.
And that keeps our little worm friends from, deciding to go on a walkabout.
Ooh, Australian worms.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, can you tell us what's inside the...
So
beautiful.
inside, I have simply some wet newspaper that I'm keeping on the top to maintain moisture.
Okay.
You'll also see on my container here that in the handles, there's more air holes that are in here. So if you find a
Yeah.
container that has handles with those air holes, that's some extra ventilation.
Love it.
On the bottom, which I want to show you, let me
Okay.
hold it up. Can you see that?
Yes, we see that.
So you can see there's some holes in the bottom.
Right, okay.
That's to allow drainage so things don't get too soupy in there.
Got
And
it.
that's going to go right through into our raised bed that we're going to bury this in a
Oh,
minute.
fantastic.
So in the bottom of this container, I've put in some newspaper
Okay.
just to cover up those holes. The water will weep through, but the worms won't go through. And then on the inside, you can see I've got some lettuce from last night's salad. I actually have things growing in my compost at home. So I have some sprouts from seeds that were in there. You'll see here's a piece of a carrot end that got taken off. There's some apple peel. We've got some eggshells. And here we go, tea bag.
So it's okay to use tea bags. How about
yes.
coffee grounds?
Coffee grounds, perfect, no
Okay.
problem. Now, the only thing about the tea bags is you don't want to use a nylon or plastic tea bag. It should be a paper type
Okay,
bag.
gotcha. Okay.
And all that can go in here. Now, this came from my compost this morning, imported from Martinez, California,
Ooh,
and brought here to sunny Marin County.
we love it.
So this is compost that came out of my bin, and in here are a bunch of the red wigglers.
I'm
and
going
you
to come
can
in
see,
close on that, Stephen. Is that
Sure.
okay? Right on your hands there.
Yep. So you see there's some lettuce, we got some parsley, and here you see one of our red wigglers right here. And here's another one right on my thumb, a little baby.
Okay, now when you were in our class and you talked to us about the worms, and I always thought as a kid, or as a kid as an adult now, that when a worm gets broken in two, that will become another worm. That's not true.
No, but these guys, once you break them in half, it's kind of, they're going to be composted.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but that's okay because their life was not taken in vain. They're going
Amen.
to add back to
They're
the
gonna add
soil.
back to the soil. So
Exactly.
that's kind of correcting that thing though. So don't cut worms in half trying to get two,
Exactly.
because that's something we always thought we could do. So love knowing that now.
Right.
So I don't like hurting things, Stephen.
I don't either,
Even
especially
worms.
my worm friends.
Amen.
So while you're talking about worms, let's do a little bit of an introduction to what they're all about. So these worms, the red wigglers, they're hermaphroditic, which means they have both male and female sex organs. And they will sidle up to one another at this thing called the clitellum, which is kind of this funny little area on them. And they will exchange sperm and fertilize each other's eggs. Then they will form cocoons, which have somewhere between 1 and 6 baby worms in there. And the worms, when they hatch out live,
Wow.
fully pigmented, so they'll look kind of red. And these worms do 3 things really well. They eat, they have sex, and they poop. And those are 3 things that we want them to do.
They reproduce, they compost make, and they eat.
And they eat.
I love it. I love it.
All
right.
And the bacteria in their gut is what's helping to break down this organic material like this lettuce. And then concentrating in that are the nutrients, and those are going into what we call the castings, which is their poop,
The poop, which
Right.
becomes the compost.
which becomes the
Love it,
compost.
love
Yep.
it. All right, doctor.
So-
Shall I say sommelier?
Soil sommelier,
Soil
yes.
sommelier.
So in here, we've got a bunch of the red wigglers, and this is to help start. This is our starter population.
Gotcha.
And for a container about this size, you want somewhere between a half and a pound of worms. So in here, you've got a pound of worms, and within 6 weeks, they will multiply.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So now, how do we, or me in this case, like, what's the procedure? We've got it started. We're gonna bury them today.
Yep.
Then what? Like, how often do I harvest? Is that the correct term?
Yes, so you're going to harvest the castings. You're going to want to separate the worms and whatever hasn't been broken down yet. So we screen it. So if you've got a 1/4-inch size screen, you can get that hardware cloth at the hardware store. And you can make a little frame for it if you want, or you can just put it over a wheelbarrow like we have here,
Right.
shake it, and the good stuff will come through. The worms, to keep them from falling through, they're sun sensitive, they're light sensitive. So it's what we call pyramiding. You can take a group of the material over an open egg carton. So save your egg cartons, drop some of it on that, and the worms will all go to the bottom of the egg carton. You shake the stuff off the top, and that's what you put in the garden.
I love it.
So either way, screening.
Or
If you lose a few worms and they go off in the garden, it's okay. They're gonna make it.
Yeah.
We are here on the side of the house, at the shady side of the house, which is an important consideration because worms like us don't like it too cold. They don't like it too hot. So we want it to be somewhere between 60 and 85 degrees or so. Above 90 degrees, they start getting a little unhappy.
So when the hot summer days start, do we need to move them? How should we protect them?
So because they're going to be in a bed and they're going to be surrounded by the soil that's in the bed, that's going to help moderate the temperature in there. It's going to keep it cool.
Perfect.
We don't want them out on the stones or anything like that because that's going to be a lot of radiant heat that they'll be going into the container. So here, buried with the carrots around them, they're going to be quite happy.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Perfect.
Good air circulation and all that. Now, the other thing is the moisture is something that often people ask about. We don't need to put any water in here because the water that they need is going to come from the vegetation that we're going to add, and it's going to be absorbed by the newspaper and stuff. We might want to dampen the newspaper a little bit now and then on the top,
Okay.
but we don't need to do anything more than that.
Love it.
We don't want to flood this with water because water plus worms equal drown worms.
Ooh.
So you've seen after a rain, the worms coming up and they're crawling out on the sidewalk. My wife likes to save them and put them back in the grass. That's because the soil is saturated and there's no airspace for them.
Yes.
So
Wow.
this, we want to make sure they have air.
I love it. Okay.
Okay, so we've got a good start. Let's talk about feeding them. So
All
this is already a system in action. We've jump started it by bringing some worms in. There's already some food, but this is to give you the basic idea of how worm composting works. It's very economical. It's very low maintenance, and it makes super high quality compost for you to put back in your garden or your house plants. You don't have to be,
Right.
you know, have 5 acres of corn or something. You can do it with just pots if you'd like.
Okay, so what's next, Dr. Salmonier?
So what we're going to do next here is add some of the kitchen scraps from
Okay.
earlier today. We're going to add those to our bin and feed the worms.
All right, great. We got a little iceberg lettuce, and I think there's an apple
There's some
there.
apple here and some iceberg lettuce. And so what we're going to do is just like we chew up our food to break it down, right?
Right.
So we're going to break this into smaller pieces because more surface area means that the worms have an easier job of doing what they need to.
Just
So-
like as if we were going to make compost in the yard, we want to break it down so it breaks down quicker.
Exactly.
Okay, love it.
Smaller pieces make easy work for our worm friends.
Worm friends. I love
Okay.
that term, vermiculture. Verma means worm, huh?
Worm,
You know,
yes.
Stephen, this is something I want to share. I've got a couple of friends that teach elementary schools. I
Uh-huh.
think they would love to see you in action.
Well, I would love to do it, and I think kids love worms too, and I like to make everybody a worm lover.
Hey now.
Hey now. Okay, so let's come in close. Let's
Alrighty.
look right down here into the bin, and you can see I've got, you know, some lettuce and stuff already in here. What I'm
Uh-huh.
going to do is make room for the new food that we're entering into the bin.
Yeah.
So we're going to move part of this over to one side.
Let me get a shot of that, doctor.
Yep.
So you are a doctor, right? PhD, is that correct?
I'm an MS actually.
MS. Now
I'm
tell
a-
me what that is.
Masters of Science
Ooh, okay.
in plant and soil science.
Now, how long did it take to become a MS in soil?
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I'm still working on it because it's a lifetime thing.
I love that.
So-
Learning is lifelong. Right?
Exactly. We all need to be lifelong learners.
I
But
love
as
it.
a formal education, you know, it was like 4 years of undergrad and then another 3 years or so of graduate school.
Can I ask you a
some
really,
research?
really serious question, though?
Oh, how serious?
Well, at this point in your life, was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. It was worth it. I'd do it again. In fact, I would keep going.
I love it.
If it didn't cost money to go to school, I would continue to keep learning.
Keep learning.
But actually,
you know,
I'm still learning without formally.
exactly.
taking classes.
You and I are very much alike in that when it comes to learning and also sharing what we've learned.
That's
or,
it.
Or learning. And it's one of the things that really draws me to you and the work you do. Your
As
passion.
I'm drawn to you.
Well, thank
We're
you.
like
I found
magnets.
it, like magnets. But
You're the
thing
South Pole, I'm the North
Hey
Pole.
now, hey now.
Hey!
What I'm getting at though is your passion for this place that we're standing on, this soil we're standing on. When you
Mm-hmm.
came to our class and talked to us about, I'm thinking, who's going to come to us talk about dirt? And what did you say when you heard that term?
Ooh, dirt is what's in the vacuum cleaner bag. It's what's on the wall-to-wall carpeting. It's what's on the clothes. It's what the cats and the kids bring in. But it's not soil, is
So,
like
yeah,
what I like to say.
And
Soil for emphasis.
ooh,
Because soil is sexy. It's got things happening.
Ain't that
it's
the-
good.
hey now.
It's good.
But your passion, the way you conveyed that, you changed. I don't like to say that thing where you shifted my paradigm. However, you did. You really
Well, thank you for
took
that.
my thought process about this beautiful earth, which I love, and you elevated it. You made me think more about it. And
I'd like to say that, Curtis, you're more grounded.
ooh, another one.
Boomba.
That's fabulous.
Boomba, I'm on fire.
I'm more grounded
You're more grounded.
in the soil.
And now we are talking truth, ground truthing.
Oh, I love it. All right,
Yes.
so back to our vermiculture there, Doctor.
Okay, so we have our kitchen scraps. We've
Right.
made space. We're going to put those kitchen scraps in there on this side.
So I want to always do it on the side. We don't want to just put it right in the middle, correct?
Right, so just like, us, the worms, they have an appetite. They want to move over and get some food. Then they want to come back and chill out a little bit.
Right.
Maybe like sit over on the soil sofa over here.
The soil sofa.
Just chilling.
Just
So we don't want to put the food all over. We want to kind of put it in one place and say, come,
to the dinner
eat.
table.
This is where it is.
Love it.
And then we'll shift back and forth, and we'll gradually build this up so that it's about 3/4 full with material in here. And up to about where you see the inside, the handles here. We don't want to cover over these air holes.
Right.
So this is about our filling point.
Okay.
Once we get to that, then we'll screen it, separate out the worms. You can put the castings out into the garden or whatever, and we'll continue adding
Start over.
food to it. And
Now-
that'll probably take a couple of months.
Okay. So now the thing is, like, we know those worms are down there. They're doing their thing. They're magic multiplying. When do we take worms out? Do they ever go into the garden, or do they live here in the beautiful vermiculture?
So that's a
home?
good question. So the worms, they like to breed. And if things are all happy in the container here, they will breed. And so as they multiply, this size container is good for about 1 pound of worms or so. And that's about what's in here right now. So after about 6 months or so, you may want to go through and thin out some of the worms.
Okay.
And so then you find a friend that you want to introduce to vermicomposting, and you say, hey, I've got some worms for you. Let me show you how to get this started. Because if you purchase worms through the internet and by mail, they're like $40 a pound to
Are you
$60.
serious?
I'm serious. So there's actually money in worms.
Ooh,
For
side
those of you
hustle.
entrepreneurials out there, think about a big
side
worm
hustle.
Side hustle, yes, yes. So you can give those to a friend and they can start their operation.
Okay, we love it.
Or you could start another bin.
Okay.
Actually, come holiday time or whatever, you're finding an earthly gift to give someone. Set them up with a little bin, give them some of your worms and say,
I love that.
this is how we address climate change. This is how we make a connection back to our food. This is how we appreciate the earth.
Mother Earth.
And it's like, let's stop and smell the compost.
Amen. You know, you just made me think of something, Stephen. Here in Marin County, we're supposed to, quote unquote, put all of our kitchen scraps into the mulching bin. So for the green waste, I think instead of sending it to the recycle center or whatever the garbage place is called, we should do that with it, right?
Yes. So make your own compost at home. You are controlling the feedstock, what's going into it. It's high quality, and your vegetables, whatever you're growing, is going to appreciate it. Your flowers.
Everything. Okay, cool.
It's all going to be great.
So how are we doing with the little home for our worms?
Okay, so the food is in there. We've got it covered over. What we're going to do now is put our moist newspaper back on top.
Okay.
And now we're using newspaper where they use soy-based ink and all that. So we're not
Right.
using anything glossy, no National Geographic stuff
Gotcha.
that may have
So we
metals.
just want like the Marin IJ or the Contra Costa.
Contra Costa Times. Yep.
Yep,
In my
okay.
case, it's the Daily Californian from Berkeley. So
All right.
boom,
love it.
in that goes. We cover those over. And then we have our lid, which we're going to replace. And this is set. So you come out, once a day or whatever, and you just
feed them.
feed them.
All right, cool.
You don't
Now-
even need to worry about them.
So we're gonna cover it all the way, or how deep?
So we're going to bury this about halfway
Okay,
in our
gotcha.
raised bed. Now,
Okay, cool.
this is for two reasons. One is to moderate the temperature to keep them cool.
Okay.
And the other is it's kind of out of sight.
Right,
There's
right.
no smell or anything involved here.
Lisa
because
loves you for that.
we want to make everybody happy in the worm world.
In the worm business, right?
So we're going to take out some soil here. We're going to put it into the wheelbarrow.
okay, move that closer to you.
Sure.
All righty.
And we're just going to dig out about 4 inches.
Okay, let me get this closer.
And then we'll replace some of it as we need to. And this is a good place to do this because you've already got this bed set up.
Can I help you?
Sure.
All right.
Dig in.
Guys, I'm gonna have Stephen help me write my comedy routine.
He's a big, oh, could you imagine us as a comedy
Oh my
routine?
God, we should take this out to the road, huh?
Boy.
All right. We're gonna take about 4 inches all the way around, right? Is that
Yep.
is that the game plan?
About 4 inches so we can nestle this down
look,
in there.
So there's so many worms in here too, Stephen. Look.
There are, and we can
Yeah.
add those into our
Into
bin
the-
if we want,
okay.
or put them right back. So let's see how,
How that looks.
yeah, we'll just push this over a little bit.
So what do you think of the soil that I have in here?
It looks pretty good.
Nice.
Smells good. I smelled it earlier. So we're going to square this off a little
Okay.
bit, a little more out of here.
Okay.
We might need to take a couple more carrots out.
Okay. No worries. Pull out what you need, because I'll juice them tonight.
Okay.
Watch the wire. Then I don't want you to get hurt.
Yep.
We've got our gopher wire, but
Oh, you gotta have the
seem-
gopher wire.
Yeah. They get in there though.
And they seem to be breeding well this year because there
Oh
was
my
lots of
gosh,
rain.
Yes. The worms are look how many worms are in here.
That's nice.
I hope I don't hurt too many.
It's when you don't see worms that you worry.
How does that look?
Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll nestle that down in there.
Okay. need to move more carrots. We can.
We
I think this wire here is what's causing us the problem.
I think we need to get the corners a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's what's chisel that out a little bit there.
I love how you
Scooper.
work with that. That's my
This
my
looks like a
grandson's,
grandson
yeah.
tool. I like it. I like it. I might need to get one of these.
I call him G.O. His name is Graham Otto, so G.O.
G.O. Okay. Go, go, go. Here we
Go,
go.
go,
All right.
go.
I think
All right.
that's going to be good.
Looking good.
Let's
All
put
right,
our little
Doctor.
bit in here.
I'm going to get back behind the camera so I can take the...
Perfect.
Oh, look at us.
So let's take a shot of that.
All righty.
Let's look down in here.
Hey, Stephen, we have an audience today. Your lovely woman
We
and my
do.
lovely woman.
My lovely wife Beth is here, and lovely Lisa is here as well.
Everybody take a look at that.
So this is nestled down in here. You see that it's level, which we
Right.
want it to be level.
Uh-huh.
It's below the surface here, which is great. And then it's easy enough for us to just pop the top off and to be able to
Perfect.
get access.
That is, yeah.
So that's what we want.
Easy access. Now we're going to put the soil back around it.
What we can is we'll keep the lid off for right now.
Okay.
And, or actually we'll put it back on because then we won't get more soil in the bin. And we can put the soil back around it. And that helps keep it cool.
All righty. Now I've got a shot, a lockdown shot just of the bin while we throw soil back around. Notice, Stephen, I haven't said that other word that starts with a D since I met you. You
I noticed you have not said
I'm
that
getting-
four-letter word.
I'm getting good at it.
That four-letter word. Dirt. We'll just sprinkle this around the sides.
Around the sides.
Yep.
Okay. How does that look?
That looks good. Right in there.
I
We
like
don't
you
need to
to
pack this. We'll just keep it loose.
This kind of works like a regulator. What's the word I'm looking for?
Thermal
Insulation.
regulator. Yeah,
insulation,
exactly.
right?
Mhm. Yep.
This is funny because, I grew up in the South, and I think back to, like, my mother used to would sell chicken plates and dinners and things to raise money for the church or the women's club that she was a part of or whatever it was, right?
Right.
And I remember her making what she called a Black Mama's cooler. She
Ooh.
would take the box, a cardboard box, right?
Yep.
And line it with towels and then put tin foil around it.
Right.
And it insulated it. I was
Yeah.
like, that is so cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is before, nowadays we got so many like coolers you can buy. So
It's
many.
like an ice box without ice.
Exactly. It was just I think about things like that, right? And here we are, we're insulating our little worm friends.
Yep. We'll put a little more on this side, I
okay.
think.
I don't want to cover those holes.
I'll
might
cover
need-
those.
thank you.
You can cover my hands. I
Thank
like
you very
being
much.
soiled.
So you said that earlier that you smell the soil, right?
Yes.
So tell us what we're looking for if we're going to sniff our soil. I don't want to cover that hole up.
Oh, there we
I don't want to. If we're sniffing the soil, what should it smell like? Good soil. What? Any idea? Well,
So,
you know, but I want to know.
good soil has this smell from this molecule called geosmin, Geosmin, and that's what gives you an earthy smell.
Ah,
So it should smell earthy. Oh, there's a little worm. We'll put you down there. It should have a nice earthy smell. We'll put a little more over here.
on this side.
Yep.
It's funny as a produce person, as a chef. I describe things. Well, it should have an earthy smell.
Yeah.
So that terming it what was that?
Geosmin.
Geosmin. I got to look that up so I understand.
We don't want it to be sour. We don't want it to smell funky.
Funky.
Right?
We don't want no
We don't
funk.
want to smell in a gaba.